Hey guys, it's Vriend back again with another Card Fight Vanguard deck profile. So if you guys enjoy, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and down to the Patreon. And let's get one started. So, today is Bastion. Bastion is a fun one, that's for sure. It's, weirdly enough, it's the one that my grade 4 shows up the least in, despite the fact you would think it would show up the most in. I can understand why it would show up the... Actually, it doesn't make sense why it's the one that shows up the least in, considering all of them have the same amount of consistency, except Bastion gets more... that's debatable. The point is, this is the deck I see my grade 4 the least in, and yet when I do see it, if I haven't already been effed severely in the kneecaps and my board is non-existent, then it's essentially game over for my opponent. Like, you guys saw, I think it was against Gravity I played this against the first time. You guys saw how, like, my board was nothing, and yet even then I still almost won with Bastion in a singular grade 3 rearguard. Like, Bastion in one grade 3 rearguard, the new one, really good. Bastion with the board is a death sentence to anyone who stares him down. So, let's go ahead and get this deck started, shall we? First up, our starter is Knight of Heavenly Bow's base, 6k base, 5k shield, grade 0 with boost, auto when it's rode upon if you win second draw card. Nothing too special about him, standard skill of a starter really. He does look cool though, like with the angel wings and the little dagger that has, like, I guess would be classified as two swords that looks like an angel wing. Either way, even though it is actually a bow because, you know, his name implies it. Either way, he's still a really cool starter and I like carrying him around for this. Next up we have our Overtrigger and Light Dragon Deity of Honors, Amartinoa. I know the Noah part probably comes from the Bible. I don't know where the other half comes from. 5k base, 50k shield, grade 0 with boost. Overtrigger, you may have one Overtrigger in your deck. When revealed as a trigger, move that card, draw a card, choose one of your units, it gets plus 1 million for the turn. If revealed during your drive check, activate additional effect, which is additional effect until end of turn. You may also perform drive checks for the battles of your rear guards attacks. So, with all your rear guards being grade 3s, most of the time, they will get 4 drives. If for some reason you have 2 Bastion Primes on rear, you have most, like, for that to happen, you have to be on Bastion. So that is, what is the number? That's triple drive. Yeah, whoever fights that is dead. But yeah, that's a pretty good ability. The downside to this is, like, it's the most quote-unquote, like, least flashy of the Overtriggers, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have, like, a good effect. Like, getting your rear guards drive checks makes this deck so consistent. Like, on the rare occasions that I see this, because now I see this, what's it called? Now I see the Stoicheia Overtrigger more, now that the grade 4 has been revealed for Magnolia. I see that more than I see this thing, so now it's going back to being, like, the least Overtrigger I've seen. But on the rare occasions I see it and my opponent doesn't die because it's an Overtrigger, this tends to net me some advantage by getting me 6 handguards. So, all around, pretty good Overtrigger. Once more, you could run Obari because, you know, Obari's cheaper, and 2 rear guards at 2 million is, or 1 rear guard at 2 million, or 2 rear guards at 1 million is just as good. So, you know, if you want to run Obari because maybe it's cheaper, or because you think it's better for your style, run Obari. There's no reason to run this if you don't want to run this. That's what I do with my cards, and we all see how that works out. It actually works out pretty well. So stick to your style. On to our other triggers, we run 3 copies of Protection Magic Prorobi. Draw trigger, grade 0, boost, 5k shield, 4k base, continuous guard circle. If your opponent's vanguards are grade 3 or greater, it gets plus 5k shield. You know, standard draw triggers, I'm still disappointed in them. Like, they didn't give draw triggers any special skill. They literally just stole the skill from front triggers. And while I'm glad that we have more guarding power, it's like, okay, I guess. I'm more just every time I look at them, it doesn't change my playstyle at all, because it actually hasn't changed it as much as I thought it would. But, like, just looking at them, I'm extremely disappointed that, like, Bushy just copied and pasted their skill. I don't even care if it was just shove it to soul, draw a card. That's good enough for me. Or on place from hand, specifically from hand, once per turn counter charge. Like, that honestly would have been good enough for me, and I would have been satisfied. Granted, maybe that one would break a few decks, but, like, I would have been fine with that. But no, they just have to copy and paste a skill. It still works, though. Gives this deck more shield when, something we'll discuss later. 3 copies. 4 copies of Bard of Heavenly Song Alpacc, 4k base, 15k shield, grade 0 boost. It is a front trigger, and it does the same exact thing as the draw, so it's a 20k shield. Honestly, really good. Make sure rear guards that could possibly restand columns hit for more, and because Bastion Prime gives all of your restanding units plus 10, if you pull front trigger, the ones that restood in the front row get plus 20. So, 4 copies of this thing. 4 copies of Blade Feather Dragon, 4k base, 15k shield, grade 0 boost. Critical trigger auto, rear guard at the end of the battle that boosted, put it to soul, choose one of your units, gets plus 2 for the turn. So, you know, just one of your units gets plus 2. You don't run it for that, you run it for the gets to soul, because on occasions, this deck will have a Soul Blast problem. Specifically on occasions. It's rare that it happens, but it happens on occasions. It depends on what you open up with. It depends on how crazy you want to go with it. 4 copies of the crit, though, because you want to rush with your big-ass numbers. No one's going to survive that. When you're swinging in for like the 40s to 50s to maybe even the 80s if you try hard enough, they're not going to block. They're going to have a harder time blocking, and they're going to want to block it if it has double crit on it. And then we have our heal, which is Healer of Heavenly Staff, Arshes. Just standard heal trigger, nothing too special about it. 4 of. On to our grade 1s, the only grade 1 in the main deck. 4 copies of Aegismare Dragon. 6k base, grade 1 boost, 0 shield, continuous sentinel. You have to 4 sentinels in your deck. Alden is placed on guard circle, choose one of your units. It cannot be touched in battle, and if your hand has 2 or more cards, choose a card from hand, discard it. Okay, first off, once more, it's the same skill as all the other PGs. If this and only one other card are in your hand, when you would play this on guard circle, you don't have to discard anything, but if this and 2 other cards are in your hand or more, you do have to discard. Now, the important part about this, you, like the overtrigger, you do not need this. What I mean by that is you do need a PG. If you're going my style, you're going to need a PG. Because my style is stupid and it only works if you are crazy, really crazy. Like, you have to be balls to the wall, people will question if you're sane or not, type of crazy. So, that is something that you require for this deck, a PG, but it doesn't have to be this specific PG. I run it because, it is better, but I run it online. In real life, I use the real PG because that's cheaper, and using this will break my wallet, so... don't be ashamed. It's same with the front trigger. Get a regular front if you can't afford the $20 front. I mean, not $20, the 20k front. But all around, you don't need the expensive cards. There are budget versions of everything, except for technically the front. Just get the freaking regular fronts, get the regular PG, get the regular overtrigger. It's gonna fucking matter. Especially if your style is based around it, who cares? Make your deck based towards you. It doesn't matter if you need a good PG, quote unquote good PG or not, because sometimes it just doesn't work out. My friend made a deck that doesn't have PGs based off of my idea of not having PGs in a deck. It works somehow. And then when we tried shoving PGs into it, it actually made it worse. We chested it so many times, and it failed more often times than it won when it had PGs. I'm telling you, if your deck works for you, don't change anything about it. Just do as you wish. 4 copies of this thing, though. 4 copies of a PG in general, especially if you're sticking with my style. And our last grade 1 in the main grade 1 of the ride line, and the only one that goes in the ride deck, Knight of Heavenly Sword 4, 8k base, 5k shield, grade 1 with boost. Alden was rode upon by Knight of Heavenly Spear Rooks. Reveal 2 grade 3s from your hand, reveal the top card of your deck, call it to rear if it's a unit card, and if it's not, put it to drop. So, unlike Cheris from Magnolia, where it could go to soul instead of to hand, instead of to board, this one makes you go to drop, so it's inherently worse. Yeah, that's not good. And then, you requires 2 grade 3s, and then act rear once per turn, counterblast 1, choose one of your grade 3 vanguards against +5. Yeah, that's never going to go off because, you only run this in the ride deck. There is no way to fetch stuff out of soul in this deck except for 1 card that exists in Keter Sanctuary, and you do not run in this deck, and there's no way to get it out of drop, to my knowledge, in this deck. So, 1 copy in the ride deck, none in the main deck. Also, that 2 grade 3 thing is not going to be a problem if you played this like it's supposed to be played. Next up, we have Knight of Heavenly Spear Rooks, grade 2, intercept, 5k shield, 10k base. Aldo, when it's rode upon by Apex ruler Bastion, reveal 3 grade 3 cards from your hand, draw a card. Continues rear during your turn if you have 3 or more grade 3 units, gets plus boost and 5k power. So yeah, that's not going to happen either, but the first ability is with the draw, which is kind of lackluster, but it's still something. Now, yes, this is our only grade 2. If you want to know why it's our only grade 2, well, little backstory. I'm the type of person where if there is a point of how the deck is supposed to be played, if it requires a specific grade, I'm going to base it around that specific grade. This one is based around grade 3s. Yeah, you can already tell where this is going, but if you can't, all grade 3s or no grade 3s, except for the ride line and a PG within logic, and triggers because those are required. Yeah, if you can't tell, I did that. And if you think I wouldn't do this in premium, go check out W/'s go check out W/'s reveal of the Mega Colony units, because I literally put in the comments, no sane person would build an all grade 3 deck for Bastion in premium, and then I literally did it, and then I put a comment on the video with the deck list. If you do not believe me, go check it right now, because I swear to you it's still there unless he got rid of it. But yeah, it's dumb. It's really dumb, but I did it to prove a point. So, yeah, if you guys say that I'm sane enough to not do something stupid, go look at that and I'll prove you wrong immediately. Anyways, this is your only grade 2. You only need one grade 2. Trust me, and overdress, this plan of running all grade 3s works a lot better than running it in premium, because I haven't tested out in premium yet because I'm kind of afraid to. Anyways, next up we have our grade 3s. Now here's where all the cards come in. 2 copies of Grand Heavenly Sword, Alden. 13k base, grade 3, turn draft, persona ride, auto when it's placed on rear, counterblast 2, soul blast 1, choose a card from your hand, call it to rear guard. If you call it grade 3, draw 2 cards, and auto rear when this unit attacks. If you have 3 or more grade 3 units, it gets +5 for the turn. So, counting himself, if you have 2 other units, he'll get +5, so 18, that's really good. And then, the on-play skill to counterblast 2 and soul blast 1, bit hefty, especially for me, because, we all know I'm counterblast sensitive. I never really got into the full reason why, but I got into part of it at some point, but it's mainly because for a year I was locked into counterblast because my friend would only ever play online, so one day my buttons broke and then they wouldn't get fixed, so I couldn't really use my soul button, so I was forced to use a deck that only required counterblast and discarding, and I basically became very sensitive to counterblasting, and I had to do that for a year, so I've now become very sensitive to counterblasting, but on the bright side of that, it is nearly impossible to damage starve me. So, yeah, that's a plus. So, anyways, getting a call is really nice, especially because if that call is a grade 3, you get to draw 2, and the only other time you wouldn't call a grade 3 is if you would call a trigger for some reason, or a PG, but at that point, what the fuck is the point of using the skill? Just call it normally. You want to call the grade 3 just to get to draw 2. And, the 5k helps in the early game. I only run him at 2, though, because, he's not actually that good once I tested him with Prime, because the thing with him, he requires grade 3 units, so, in the case where he is the only other card on the field, you're short 1 unit, because maybe you only have a front row, he's kind of useless because he can't get the +5, so 2 copies. 2 copies of Easerod Angel, 13k base, grade 3, 200 persona ride, auto when it's placed on rear, soul blast 1, look at the top card, if it's unit card, call it to rear, and to the same column as it, and return it to the original spot if not call. So basically what that means is, call the top card of your deck if it's a unit, and if it's not, it stays on the top. Basically a way to, maybe see your triggers. Say, for example, all of your normal units are out of deck, but because you just want to take a cheeky little peek at the top of your deck, pay a Soul Blast, look at your next card. Oh, suddenly your Oracle Think Tank, and you can see triggers. Yeah, no, this thing is really thing. Now, the funny thing is, it's a May clause, which means you don't have to call it, and you can just stand it to top anyways. So, if if you see a grade 3, but you don't think you're going to draft check a grade 3 that turn, well, now you can draft check a grade 3. So, yeah, Easerod's kind of funny with that, because she can get you either a column, or she can just guarantee your drive check. All around, Easerod is pretty good, and I like her, and the only cost for her is a Soul Blast, and that's kind of manageable in this deck, so 2 of. 2 of Knight of Broadaxe Rafluke, 13k base, grade 3, 200, persona ride, act, rear, put it to soul, choose one of your grade 3 rear guards, it gets +10 for the turn. Yeah, I don't need to explain what this is here, right? You get a free soul, you get a free +10. The only downside is specifically a grade 3 rear guard, so you can't give this to Prime on rear, but, yeah, it's good. I would run it at more if there was space for it, but I see this thing enough to run it at 2. 2 copies of Heavenly Bow of Identifying Guidance Refuerzos. I don't need to run this, but I choose to run it because on occasions it comes in helpful. 13k base, grade 3, 200 persona ride, continues rear guard. If you persona ride, this unit gets boost, auto back or rear guard once per turn. When your other unit stands by a card's effect, stand this unit. It doesn't have to be in the same column as it can be in a different column. Now, here's why I run this when I have Prime who can restand columns for me. Once more, I said it earlier too. You're not always going to be on Prime, and the reason I have behind this is, I ran this before anyways because I didn't want to take the chance with Prime because all the other grade 4s, half the time I see them in my opening hand, then half the time I draw them the turn I would normally ride them, so it's fine. But Prime is the one who just chooses to show up whenever the fuck he wants. He rarely, the few games I had with him, he never showed up in my opening hand except for 1 game, and then he was never like the other ones where he would show up the turn I would normally ride him, going from, grade 0 to all the way up to 4. No. He just decided to skip that turn, or skip multiple turns until I just needed him. So, you're not always going to be on him. So having the guy, who can stand on his own without Prime is really good. And that's why this is here, in the chance that that occurs. 2 copies, because yes, I do run Persona Rides. So 2 copies of Refuerzos, just in case you get locked off for Prime, because it is actually an important thing. You can build your deck around Prime if you want, but it's not always going to work out. I'm at least prepared for this. 2 copies of Heavenly Blade of Oath, Vriend, 13k base, grade 3, 200% right. First off, I want to say this, all of his skills are free, so that's the main reason why he's here. None of his skills have any cost. Continues rear guard during your turn if your Vanguard is Apex-surpassing sword, Bastion Prime, it gets plus 5k power. So if you're on the grade 4, this is an 18, but because of the grade 4, it gives plus 2 to the front row, if this is in the front row to 20. And auto rear, when your unit stands by your card effects, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, this unit gets plus 5 for the turn. Okay, you may be thinking, that's not that powerful. I mean, yeah, you can use it with regular Bastion, and only one unit's gonna stand, maybe this one too, so it gets plus 10. But you gotta remember, the grade 4 can restand a whole board, except for himself. So if you restand 5 grade 3 rear guards, because you had a full board, that's plus 25 to this boy. And because he would have to be one of them, he would get plus 10. Oh, wait, sorry. It's when this unit stands by your card effect. Never mind. My bad. I was about to say this is going to be really broken. No, he only gets the 5k. Yeah, so he's not that broken. The most he can get to is 25 unless you restand him multiple times. Is there a way to restand? I know what I must do in premium now, but that's not important. So, Vriend is really good. Gets you power. That's pretty much what he is. Just gets you power, but he does it for free. There's literally no cost to him. There's no reason not to run him unless he's expensive. But considering the fact that he is a rare, he's probably very cheap. So 2 copies. 3 copies of our double rare, Heavenly Arrow of Sure Hit Sparare, 13k base, grade 3, 200% right. Okay, you already know I'm biased towards this card because it has a bow and an arrow and it looks like a fucking bird. Oh yeah, baby, we all know I'm biased towards this thing. So, I already went over its stats. Auto front or rear guard circle when this unit is stand by your Vanguard's ability. So specifically the Vanguard's ability. I don't remember if there's a... Nope, there is a card that can stand a rear guard, but it's grade 2 or less. But there probably is another card back in all the way in Royal Paladin or like all the way back in G or V that could probably stand your rear guards, but from effects that aren't the Vanguard. But anyways, Soul Blast 2, you get to draw a card. So... it's easy to get Soul Blast. It's easy to get Soul in this deck, you know, Rafluke. Like I said, on occasions you will have a problem, and that would be a Soul Blast problem, but, like, it's not really that bad. It's just a rare thing that occurs, but, like, it just makes you have to be smart about how you pay your Soul Blast. And it also kind of depends on the matchup. If you're playing against Prison, you're most likely going to have that Soul Blast problem unless you get a really good opening hand. But... yeah, the draw is just really nice because it allows it to be in the front rear guard circle for this. And the continuous back or rear guard circle skill, during your turn, all your other rear guards in the same column as it get plus 5. So that's really good. It has versatility. It can be in the front or back row. Still get a good skill. The one in the front row allows you to draw if you use Bastion skill on it. And the one in the back row allows you to power up the one in the front row. And you combine these two together, well, this thing gets power that I don't need to explain. So, all around, pretty good, because like this thing gets the guaranteed whatever Bastion you're on, this is going to be a 15k base on its own. As let's assume you're not on Bastion Prime, restands swings for 15, restands due to regular Bastion, boys at 25, skill it stood by an effect if they're at grade 3 goes to 30. This thing also brings it to 35. Oh, so before it was 20, never mind. So this thing is at 35 right now with a boost. That's like if you're on the original Bastion, that's 50. Pretty good number. Without triggers, by the way. Pretty good number. And then, you know, you combine a Bastion Prime with that, jump that up by another 10, I believe. So, 60. Pretty good number. Yeah, your opponent's dead. So, 3 copies of Sure Hit, because he really does make sure everything hits. Ha! Get the joke? Get the joke? What are you doing here with the hook? No, not the hook! Ah! Next up on the list is Heavenly Protection Dragon Embrace Dragon, 12k base, grade 3 200 persona ride. I just realized you had a 12k base, but you are still pretty cool looking. Auto, when it's placed on guard circle, choose one of your grade 2 or greater units that is being attacked, and that unit gets plus 10k for the end of battle. If it's a grade 4, it gets plus 20 instead of plus 10. So first off, this is a better Kokabeel, because Kokabeel was my discard fodder, but also had a guarding capabilities. That's pretty much what this thing is. It's just the upgrade of Kokabeel. Now, Kokabeel was restricted to the original Bastion and did it for every grade 3. Not grade 3 or greater, but grade 3. This one can technically get less power because Kokabeel, if you played it right, could get like... okay, if you were on Bastion and you had a full board of grade 3s, it would hit 15. So, like, in terms of comparison, it's less. But then when you add the grade 4, 1, this automatically has more versatility, and 2, it actually gives more power. So, Embrace all around is really good because, you know, it gives you power on Van, and... yeah, that's all it is. But also it doesn't get Guarding Shield though. That's the other thing. Because they can retire this as a Guardian. but it won't lose anything because it's giving power to Bastion and not gaining shield. Unlike Kokobile, who is gaining shield and not giving power. If you know what the difference between these is, it's basically stuff like Daikaiser, where if they nuke a Guardian, you lose their guarding power. But since this isn't gaining guarding power, you wouldn't be losing anything. It doesn't exist in D yet, I'm just saying in Premium you can do this. If you could get to Bastion Prime on that turn. So yeah, all around this is really good. It's an upgraded version of Kokobile. I don't see me using her though more than just discard fodder, because that's what Kokobile's purpose was, of feeling a comfortability while also giving me discard fodder. That's what she was. I never used her more than once in the way she was meant to be used. So that's probably how this is going to go, but honestly it's a really cool card. I like its art. I think it's fun, and yeah, it's 4 copies. Next up on our list is Apex Ruler Bastion, our main grade 3 who has stuck with us through this entire journey. So grade 3, 200, Persona Red, 13k base, continuous Vanguard during your turn. All of your grade 3 units get plus 2k power. So it includes himself, so that's a 15k on him. All your grade 3s become 15s except for this one, which becomes a 14. And you know, it gives all of these things capabilities to hit in the 30s when boosted and allows them to hit numbers. Oh, whoops, wrong card. And you know, that. And then Auto Van, once per turn at the end of the battle that your drive check revealed a grade 3 unit, it's specifically a grade 3, not a grade 3 or greater, so you can't just drive check this and get the skill. It has to be something else on the list that is this or lower on the list. Discard a card from your hand, choose a rear guard, stand it gets plus 10 for the turn. So, no counterblast skill, which is the only reason why I loved it to begin with, but you also get a stand of a unit and gets a plus 10. And if you do it to this one, that's plus 15, if they're at grade 3. Like, I understand why Bastion was bullshit in set 1, and I feel like Bastion himself had something to do with it. Like, because, well, I don't pay attention to meta, so I don't really pay attention to tournaments either, but I feel like Bastion was a part of it, just because, like, you know, his skill being free allows players to be a bit more liberated with how they build their deck, with how much stuff costs Counterblast and Soul Blast. Because the only thing this thing requires is a discard, and your drive check is going to give you Zed discard fodder. So all you need is a grade 3 from your drive check. So all around, like, you can even just discard the grade 3 that you got from your drive check just to restand. Like, that's what I did half the time. All around, Bastion's a really good card. So you run 2 of them in the main deck, 1 of them in the ride deck. Just because, one, yeah, you need the one in the ride deck, but you need 2 in the main deck, you know, just in case you can't get on Prime, because once more, you're not always going to be able to get on Prime. So having access to those Persona Reds are really good. Also, to those of you wondering why I don't run Legrel or, like, you know, the Gamble card, the Counterblast 2, rest any number of rear guards, gets drive checks and 5k power, that thing. The reason I don't run is because I don't feel comfortable running it. Like, that thing goes against my style entirely. That thing is the equivalent to, like, the most that would be used for discard fodder, but we have this thing, an access shield, which is something I would actually consider using at a point, compared to someone who eats up 2 of my counterblast, wants a more very counterblast sensitive, and something that could make me nuke 5 of my hand cards. It is not a card I like using, so I used it in set 3, and it felt very uncomfortable. Bastion Prime gave me a reason to get rid of it. I don't like it, so I got rid of it immediately. That's my opinion on it. I'm not saying it's a bad card, it just doesn't fit me as a person. And then on to our grade 4 and our last normal unit. 3 copies of Apex-surpassing sword, Bastion Prime. God, I hate that name. I hate the phrase Apex-surpassing sword. Why Apex-surpassing? That, like, it's sword, just Apex sword, Bastion Prime. Good enough for me. Not Apex-surpassing sword. I feel like that was unnecessary, but sure, why not? Anyways, grade 4, triple drive, 13k base, no Persona Right, because if they gave this thing Persona Right, it'd be a bit too good. Continuous Vanguard, during your turn, all of your front row units get plus 2. So this ability changed from all grade 3s to all front row, so, you know, now grade 1s and 2s can get that, if you ran any in this deck. But now they specifically have to be in the front row, so you get less power out of them. So your 30k swings will now be 28k swings. Thankfully, that still hits magic numbers on most things, except unless you're playing Premium against Gize. And then Auto Van, once per turn, at the end of the battle, your drive check revealed a grade 3 or greater card. Put a Bastion from its card name from your hand or soul to drop. Stand all of your grade 3 rear guards, and they get plus 10 for the turn. So if you drive check this or anything else that isn't a grade 1 or grade 2 or lower, you get a full board restand, possibly, and plus 10 to every one of them. Yeah, you can see how this deck can hit extreme numbers, because your boards now turn into, like, 25k boosters with 28k swingers, and all of those 28k swingers most likely have 5k pluses on them. So like 33. So then 58, not counting possible triggers. And any other 10k power effects. Yeah, Bastion Prime. Numbers, baby. And this thing is honestly stronger than Bruce, because while it can't restand the Vanguard, its columns will definitely swing for bigger. And you can do it twice. Yeah, Prime's good. Prime's good. And the best part about him is, Bastion originally was a discard one. Now it is either a Soul Blast a Bastion or discard a Bastion. So while it has got more specific on the cost, you technically don't have to discard for it. Yeah, 3 of. Not even a disagreement on that. And then on to our Blitz orders in our last few cards, or just orders in general, because not all of them are Blitz orders. 2 copies of Hopeful Testode, grade 3 Blitz order if you have 3 or more units. Choose one of your units and gets plus 15 for the battle. Yeah, this never goes off. Probably not for the reason you think, but so yeah, that's a 28 on your grade 3s and your grade 4s. But the reason why this never goes off is either every game I play against, my opponent nukes just enough of my rear guards to the point where I can't use it. Like, they always nuke exactly 4. Like, they nuke my back row, and then they swing into my rear guard before they swing into my vanguard. And I don't know if, like, everyone just knows I run Hopeful Testode or something, because this was long before I did a Bastion deck profile, and I think it might just be that I always ran Hopeful Testode, but it doesn't matter. It just happens to always be a thing. Or, the other time that this happens, or the other reason why it doesn't happen as often as it should, is because just like Kokabeel and this thing, I discard it for my ride deck. Yeah, I'm not really... You see, once more, I go with the statement, it's all in, baby, or not all in. You gotta go the gamble route, despite the fact I don't use the one gamble card that breaks this, but I don't feel comfortable using him. I feel more comfortable just being stupid. Yeah, it's funny of how well I do with this deck, considering like half the time I play it, I am... like simultaneously stabbing myself in the chest while also stabbing my opponent in the chest. Like, when you fight me with this deck, we are both getting stabbed in the chest here by me alone. 2 copies of this thing, despite the fact I like never use it when I'm supposed to. And then 2 copies of my all-around favorite order that I'm really glad they gave Bastion, Pride to Protect. Grade 3 set order. After being played, set orders goes to Order Zone. Play this with a discard card. Yeah, that's really cheap. No counterblast, no soul blast, just discard card. Really easy to do. Continuous Order Zone, all of your grade 3 rear guards get boost. You know, this bastard from before required Persona Rise, so you can't even use him when you get to grade 4. Guess what? Now you can, because now he gets boost. This gets boost, even though it's not really a good thing for him to get boost, I guess. This gets boost, which is really good for him, considering he can give more units plus 5, because I like using that ability more than I like to get in the draw unless I need it. This gets boost, not like he's going to stay on the field long enough for that to happen. This gets boost, not like that matters either. This gets boost, which shouldn't be getting boost, considering it's only on battle effect is on swing. This gets boost, but if you call this... You are ballsier than me, unless I am very dumb that day. This gets boost, but you call this for killing them if you're sure they will kill them. And this gets boost, and you only call this if you're that confident. But specifically, you wouldn't do that anyways because it requires to stand grade 3 rear guards and not grade 3 or graders. So, yeah. All around, I like this order. It's really fun. 2 of. And that's it for the deck. I hope you guys enjoyed. All around, this deck is pretty fun. You get... big ass numbers very quickly. You get like 4 attacks on first grade 3 turn, swing for numbers, get to your second grade 3 turn, you swing for 1 extra attack compared to the last one, but then everyone else gets like more big numbers, and if you combine Magnolia with this shit, then your opponent gonna die. All around, it's really fun. Like, I honestly love playing this deck. It gives me a sense of like, I am able to be stupid and yet somehow be consistent. What I mean by that is I'm able to run an ungodly number of grade 3s, because I'm willing to bet right now half the people watching this run like the grade 1 that countercharges and the grade, or like any other normal amount of grade 1s and some amount of grade 2s, like mainly like at least 2 more grade 1s. I don't do that. No. I'm the ballsy person. I choose to do stupid things to prove a point. Not to not be smart. Wait, now I confuse myself. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, donate to the Patreon, join Discord, follow the Twitch, and I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget to stand up your vanguards.